everyone, and welcome to this new video on the stable body attribute, the second of the 6 martial bodies, which deals with alignment and body unity. So the stable body is the maintenance of good alignment, both static and moving, and the association and resulting harmony of various joints in the body. The maintenance of stability is essentially our ability to not be distorted, either when we are moving ourselves or when we are being moved by an opponent or partner. This ability to maintain our alignments, it actually provides us with a great deal of positional security. And one of the main benefits that comes out of stable body training for the martial artist is in how difficult we become to distort. Distortion is something that opponents and partners will use to try to off-balance us, to take us out of harmony and make us unstable. When they do that, we are prone to being hit or being thrown in a much more acute way. If we have all of our stability and all of our alignments in place, we are quite hard to move around and throw. But as soon as that is broken down, then being moved, being thrown, being struck is all much easier. You can see stable body in the combat sports fighter when they're in the ring with someone and the strikes are coming in, but they're not really having much of an effect. This is often because the person is completely set up, they're stable and they're waiting and they're able to be centered as the strikes are coming or as someone's clinching and trying to move them around. Quite often the knockout blow will come when the person wasn't expecting it, when the person's moving backwards or when they're overreaching when they're trying to strike. These are signs that stability has been lost, and the person that gets knocked out is often in what I call a recovery phase, or they are in a position of lack of stability, or they're slightly distorted. Training the stable body to be maintained gives us this pathway towards resisting some of those situations. And the resistance to distortion gives us a lot of benefits when it comes to offense in martial situations as well. If we're striking and we maintain good alignment, we can increase the apparent power of those strikes. The whole body is unified behind the strike. Similarly, if we're grappling and someone's trying to off-balance us or throw us, if we naturally maintain our alignments, we are much harder to move around, to off-balance and to throw. But how do we go about producing this trained stability, this trained alignment and harmony? Well, firstly, we need to be able to align the joints in a precise way. So the first part of stable body training is what we call proprioceptive sense training. The proprioceptive sense is this sense of our position in the environment, but also in relation to ourselves. So how bent or unbent is the limb? How open or closed is the shoulder? Can I touch my finger to my nose without looking? These are all facets of that proprioceptive sense, and this sense comes out of a number of different factors. Some of those things are the way that the skin is stretching, the position of the joint angle, the position of the spine, the amount of force being used by muscle groups. All of these different things all feed back into the nervous system and give us an impression about where our body is. There are certain areas of the body that have much more receptors for this proprioceptive sense. And one of those areas is the feet. So one of the training methods that we use in the stable body is to wake the feet up and make the feet very sensitive to what's going on the floor, and also our position of mass above them. Another area that is related to the proprioceptive sense is the tissues, and so we do things like slapping the tissues to bring our awareness into them and give us a better map of where our body is. And then we have things like the joint angle, and this is where we begin to investigate what are called the 6 associations, or the 6 harmonies. And here is where we start to create alignments firstly, but also start to create a map of how these joints relate to each other in movement. The 6 associations or harmonies are the shoulders to the hips, the elbows to the knees, and the wrists to the ankles or the hands to the feet. These 6 associations are not only positional, so we can stack the shoulder above the hip, for instance, but they're also associations of role. The shoulder and hip joint have a very similar mobility role in the body. The elbows and knees have a very similar transfer role in the body, where they're not particularly mobile in relation to the shoulder or the wrist, for instance, but they're very good at transferring force from the body through to the hand. So they have a similar role. And then the ankles and the wrists have a sort of control role, where they are used to control forces, whether that's our weight going to the floor or forces coming to and from the body reaching the hands. So we train all of the joints of the body in harmony with one another. We will bend the knees and the elbows at the same time in a very deliberate way. And over time, all of these different methods begin to map the body and give it a trained association with each other. And more so, it begins to create good alignment. Now, in the early stages, we need to make sure that we are producing this good alignment. We create a very nice straight spine. We bring the shoulders into good alignment above the hips, elbows and knees in association with each other, etc. But later, we are able to just move, and we are always in association with each other. We are always maintaining this good alignment. And that is the manifestation of the stable body. Now, this stable body is also very good for health and wellness. As I'm sure you're aware, much of the problems with people's joints and spine are related to poor posture, often from sitting on their mobile phone with the head slung forward, for instance, or working at desks, these sorts of things. The stable body training gives us a much better map of our body, and it helps us to develop this proprioceptive sense. So we become more and more aware as we train this body of deficiencies in our alignment, of problems about where we are in relation to the rest of our body. Are we slinging our head forward and putting a lot of weight on our spine, or are we nicely upright and in good position? So from a health perspective, we begin to resolve alignments that perhaps before we didn't even realize were an issue. Not only that, when we perform the martial arts, we tend to maintain better alignment in the various techniques. So the likelihood of injury starts to fall a little bit. We begin to produce a lot of force, but it's backed by good alignment. So the stable body actually contains some of the most simple looking exercises. It looks like a very easy thing to do, but it really does produce this amazing coordination in the body and this amazing ability for our body to naturally maintain good alignments. Stable body training can be found at martialbody.com. We have a foundations course that is absolutely full of all of the basic training and 2-person exercises to help you to develop the stable body attribute.